When I was a kid, I loved sloppy joes. I played kick the can with my neighborhood gang, hunted horny toads, and rode a bicycle with a banana seat. I was a Girl Scout. In most ways, I had a pretty typical Texan childhood. In other ways, it was a little unconventional. My single mom owned a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week daycare center, which necessitated inventive home management. Some folks raised their eyebrows, but to me, it was normal. My younger sister Rachel and I were the only kids at our small Catholic school that didn't have a parent waiting for us to pick them up at the end of the day. Mom usually sent one of her employees in the giant nursery van to pick us up. My favorite was Booker, who was always laughing and had a beach ball-sized afro. Occasionally, we'd sit on the school steps waiting for a taxi. We hated those days because we always got the driver with a massive mole on the back of his neck that stared at us all the way home. Sometimes Mom would leave me a grocery list and a signed check. I'd walk to Safeway, do the shopping, and then call from the store office for a ride home. When I was 8, a cousin had a baby she was unable to take care of. We took a family vote and brought that baby home. From that day, Donnie, technically my second cousin, has been my little brother. I said Mom was single, which she was, mostly. When my family gets together, we get a kick out of naming her husbands in chronological order. First was Roy, who Mom married at 16 and was the father of my 2 older brothers. Paul, my sister's and my biological father, was her next love, but we can't count him because he was married, but not to my mom. Then there was Jim, followed by Mike, Hal, Glenn, and Bill. Last was Carter. After that, she called it quits. Some of her husbands were good guys. Some weren't. A few were around for a while. Some barely registered. A few were memorable, like Hal. Hal was most memorable. The Christmas I was a high school freshman, Rachel, Donnie, and I each had 2 packages with titillating instructions. One said, "Open me next to last." The other, "Open me last." The second to last presents were swimsuits. In December, we ripped open our last presents and started whooping. Love boat, here we come. In January, we, along with Hal, Mom's current husband, flew to Miami and boarded a Carnival cruise ship for the vacation of a lifetime. I was 15 and Rachel was 14. Donnie was 7. He was a mischievous pest with a buoyant, sunny disposition that protected him from many a psychic scar. I was metamorphosing from a bespectacled, plump, Nancy Drew addict with braces into a shapely young woman sporting contact lenses and perfect teeth with a penchant for harlequin romances. That ship was a wonderful place to try out my burgeoning woman of the world persona. I would carefully apply my makeup and admire myself in a tiny bathroom mirror, then promenade around the decks and through the lounges, imagining the longing looks of desire trailing. An older guy in one of the bands was sweet on me. I'd hang around the dance floor, and when I dared look, he'd be smiling right at me. It was intoxicating. Until one night he asked me out for a drink after the show. I didn't want to actually talk to him. After that, I stuck with Rachel and Donnie. We took full advantage of the cool things a cruise ship offers, like gorging ourselves in the middle of the night on the lavish midnight buffets. It was the height of sophistication. We were having a great time. On the 3rd day, Mom took us on a day excursion. Hal stayed on board. When we returned, it was to discover that Hal, previously known to us as an okay guy, had been in a skirmish. He had become so wild, the captain confined him to his cabin with 2 guards. All passengers near us had to be moved to other cabins because our hallway was now a jail. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. My mom is the galloping gourmet of life lemonade. She made it seem like Hal going batshit crazy was great. Because now we were upgrading from our cabins in the bowels of the ship to ones on an upper deck with windows. The evening had been unsettling, but the open sea and mountains of peel and eat shrimp lightened my heart. But Hal, who was very fit, was just getting started. He was busy turning into a freaked-out, hopped-up, Looney Tunes Tasmanian devil. While we were eating, he duped his guards, made his way to the top deck, where we were, and Spider-Man'd himself into a lifeboat, screaming obscenities, making demands, and drawing a very nice crowd. His big demand was a bottle of whiskey. The ship doctor doused it with sedatives, and the bottle was delivered. But Hal was as cunning as he was now crazy. He demanded a taster. A woman who had sat on the same bar stool since the ship sailed was recruited. She took a swig and was hustled away. Hal would take a gulp of whiskey and then shout a few more obscure obscenities from the lifeboat. You know those nature documentaries where the big cat is shot with a tranquilizer? But keeps running for another 10 minutes? That was Hal. He did eventually pass out, but not before he climbed down, scrambled to the stern of the ship, and built a bear cave out of deck furniture. He was again imprisoned in his private jail, this time in a straitjacket. Ever seen anyone in a straitjacket other than in the movies? It's creepy. I felt sorry for Hal, and honestly, I wanted another look at that jacket. So Donnie and I went to check on him. Donnie stayed outside with the guards, sticking his head in the door enough to get a good peek. Hal was wrapped tight in his white crazy coat and very sweetly tried to wheedle me into untying it. Hal did manage to get out of the jacket on his own. Twice. In the end, I think they may have glued it on him. The rest of the trip, I kept a low profile. Rachel remembers the other passengers giving us the stink eye and whispering that we were those kids with that craziness. The crew murmured that the ship was cursed. The final endurance test came when we returned to Miami. No one was allowed to disembark until after we had. I could feel every single pointy eye upon us as we made our way over the gangplank, accompanied by an army of police officers and ambulance attendants, and of course Hal, cocooned in a straitjacket, strapped to a stretcher, crazy eyes burning. That moment, I learned how to go incognito in plain sight. I was aflame with embarrassment, but I pulled down my shades and lifted my chin, assumed an entitled air, and walked off that ship before everyone else, not because I was the temporary stepdaughter of a lunatic, but because I was a woman of importance. It was the first time my internal voice braced me with mantras that I would use the rest of my life. That voice has been with me since, giving me strength when needed. Perhaps most famously when I was deported from England and escorted onto a plane by border security. I'm sure I'll meet it again, and I'm sure it will be there, reminding me that even when you are on fire with fear, Gretchen, keep your shoulders back and your head up. It really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Live bravely, and always keep oversized sunglasses at hand.